The Wii was Nintendo's best-selling home console for a really long time, but now the Switch is Nintendo's best-selling home console. So I was thinking about every Nintendo home console, Gamecube, N64, and more. I realized that I barely make any ranking videos, so here we are. Nintendo has come a long way with their games, and of course they have come a really long way with their consoles. More HD, more powerful, and in my opinion, more fun. So in this video, I'm ranking every Nintendo home console from the NES to the Nintendo Switch. But before we get into it, consider subscribing and hitting that bell. And remember, this is my opinion. My opinion. Got it? Now, of course, we're going to start with the NES, the one that started it off. You know, if it wasn't for the NES, y'all pretty much wouldn't be playing things like Among Us, so you better say thank you to Nintendo. Now, the NES had the classics, the first 3 Super Mario Bros, the OG Zelda, and the horrible sequel to it, Star Fox. Oh wait, never mind, that was the SNES. Look, it was like 3 a.m. when I wrote the script. Ice Climbers, Kirby's Adventure, and more. The NES was Nintendo's first home console, and for a first home console, it was really successful, which is why I give it a B. Look, I know it was the 80s, and I know technology back then wasn't that great, and it was barely technology at all, but I mean, come on. Would you really want Nintendo to release a game right now that looks like this? I didn't think so. And no, I'm not making fun of HD 2D games like the new Lava Live Revival game. Don't get me wrong, these games are fun and good, and I played half of them on the Nintendo Switch collection and the Virtual Console back on the Wii U. It's just not for me. But you gotta remember, it's my opinion. But the NES is still a classic and will always be. The SNES, the more powerful version of the NES, even though it's literally the NES with more colors. But nah, the NES is kind of better than the NES, with more colors, more graphics, and now you're playing with power, superpower. The SNES holds some of the most popular games from Nintendo: Super Mario World, DK Country 1, 2, and 3, Zelda: A Link to the Past, Mario RPG: Legend of the Seven Stars, Earthbound, and more. And this is the console that started the Star Fox series as well. And the SNES started some of the most popular game series like Mario Kart with Super Mario Kart. With a lot more games and a lot more color, and it being more visually appealing, I will give it an A. It was a big step up from Nintendo back then, but Nintendo has made a lot of more step ups later, and a lot of step downs. And speaking of stepping up, the N64, Nintendo's first try at 3D adventures, and to their surprise, it was even more successful than the last two. Actually, now that I'm looking it up, no it wasn't, but it was really popular back then. The N64 is home to some of the most popular Nintendo games ever. I think I'm gonna say that for every console from now on. But as I was saying, the N64 has some really popular games: Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask, the OG Smash Bros, the OG Banjo and Kazooie, the GoldenEye 007 game, the first 3 Mario parties, the OG Paper Mario, and a whole handful of more. I can understand why these were some of Nintendo's most popular games. I mean, the N64 was kind of ahead of its time, which is why I give it a solid A along with the SNES. This was a big step up Nintendo has ever done. From 2D to 3D was a rough time back then, and Nintendo successfully did with some of its games. And since it was so successful, Nintendo did it again with the Gamecube. The Gamecube is like the N64. It has 3D, just with more HD and more visually appealing graphics. And those graphics are surprisingly great for a 2001 console. Just like the N64, some games on the GameCube are some of the most popular Nintendo games and some of the most popular games ever, like Smash Bros. Melee, which is still being played today, Super Mario Sunshine, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Mario Kart Double Dash, Zelda Wind Waker, and more. The GameCube is also popular for starting really popular series now like Animal Crossing, Super Mario Strikers, Luigi's Mansion, and more. The GameCube was a really big console for its time, and I'm really surprised that it didn't sell well. And honestly, I give this console an S. The GameCube has a lot of great games, and it's a console that you can take with you anywhere with just a handle. And the controller is so great that Nintendo still keeps it around. The GameCube was a joy to play with. Have you ever wondered why the Wii was the best-selling Nintendo console for a long time? No. Well, you're dumb. Well, that's because it was different from every other console at the time. Motion controls in the 2000s wasn't really a thing until the Wii was out. And the Wii Remote was different from every other controller at the time. But make sure to put the wrist strap on, because if you don't, you're gonna have a bad time. And not to mention the great games the Wii had, like Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, Mario Kart Wii, Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, Wii Play, Wii Party, Wii Fit, Smash Brawl, Mario Strikers Charge, Hannah Montana the movie game. But wait a second. And apparently there's still games coming out on this thing with Just Dance 2020, which came out in 2019. I don't even know why they put that on there. But besides that, the Wii was definitely ahead of its time, which is why I put it in the S tier. Nintendo really outdid themselves with this one. New way to play, new amazing games. And now for the Wii U. I'm not going to say a lot because I recently just made a whole entire video about how underrated the console is, but I will say the console has some good games like Splatoon 1, Smash Wii U, Nintendo Land, Super Mario 3D World, Pikmin 3, Super Mario Maker 1, and more. And half the games have been ported to the Switch. With all of this, I do have to give the console a solid A. I will admit it wasn't as great as the original Wii, but it's still a great and worthy console people missed out on just because of a couple of untrue bad reviews. I'm not gonna get in on how underrated the Wii U is because you can go watch that video if you want. Please go watch it. And here we are with the Nintendo Switch, the console that had the guts to take the title of the best-selling Nintendo console ever, which is understandable. The Nintendo Switch is filled with games that are new, ports, classics, sequels, and more. Games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Splatoon 2, Ring Fit Adventure, Super Mario Party, Mario Party Superstars, the NES, SNES, N64, and Sega Genesis collections, and a whole lot more. This console also holds Super Mario Odyssey, my favorite game of all time. And just to remind you, even though the Switch has been out for 5 years, that it's not just a home console, it's also a handheld console, which means you can take it anywhere. It's honestly the best, and I feel like it's gonna be here for a little bit more time because it's really successful, which is why I put this in the S tier. This console is the best, like I said, and after the unnecessary failure of the Wii U, Nintendo definitely wanted to go overboard with this one, and it worked. And that will be it for this video. The Nintendo home consoles has definitely evolved over time, and it definitely got better and better over time. But since we already did home consoles, do you think I should do handhelds? Tell me in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you can get notified whenever I upload. And consider following all my socials that are on screen right now, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.